Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kenny Conversation, brought to you by JEGS, the leader in high performance aftermarket car parts. Remember to go to jegs.com to fix your hot rod or your everyday vehicle. All right, this next guest has inspired a whole new generation of people trying to make a living. He made headline news when he started becoming the go-to man to tell the history of all the NASCAR cars, haulers. My dear friend, Mitchell Stapleton. Mitchell, how are you?
Pretty good, Kenny. How about you?
Tell you what, I'm doing good, but I want to congratulate you before we get going. And you're doing what we do. You're adjusting your camera. You look good. Uh, Congratulations on 300,000 subscribers for the Mitchell Stapleton YouTube channel.
Well, thank you. Feels like it took a long time to get there, but maybe 3 years in the grand scheme of life is not that long. It feels like more than 3 years though.
Well, let's start like this, everybody. The man you're looking at right now, Mitchell Stapleton, my notes tell me you're from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And you got on the slide and you slid on down to North Carolina because you wanted to try something that some people are afraid to do. You decided to make YouTube videos for a living. Let's just start right there. Tell me the backstory of, I know this, but I need to hear it out of the horse's mouth. How did this all start?
Well, it actually started with drag racing, like streetcar drag racing, which was with my daily driver, was my dad's Escalade that he made me drive to that I commuted to because he said it was big, safe, and slow. That is, you have rules. I couldn't buy my own car. He wouldn't let me because I would have bought something that was potentially dangerous or I could do burnouts with and hit stuff. I don't know. I don't know what his rationale was, but that was what I had to drive, and that's what I did. And I kind of incrementally modified it to make it faster and found it to respond to those modifications better than it should have for how big it was. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty fun. And by then I was able to get a project car, a 72 Monte Carlo, which it was always broken because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't grow up working on cars or anything. So I kind of had to learn just by making friends that were willing to teach me things. And it didn't go very well. I broke stuff a lot.
Were you recording all this, everything you're talking about, or is this before you started recording all your YouTube videos?
This is before. I should have been recording it though. I have a lot of stuff that would have made very interesting footage had I recorded it.
Well, so there you are. You're learning everything in life, and I believe I'm right. Sometimes in life we strike gold and we don't know it. I think, and set me straight, that's why this is Kenny Conversation. Was it that Escalade? Was it that Suburban that put you on the map? I heard about you, millions of views, 1 million views. When you really did decide to start recording this, tell me exactly, was that the first try at YouTube video? Did you do anything before?
That's a bit of a loaded question. So yes, you're right. The Escalade was the kind of stumbling into it because I couldn't tell you how badly I wanted to, go get myself a Fox Body Mustang or something that would have made a better drag car. But you had to put all kinds of more power into this thing to make it compete with stuff that had half the power. But it was a detriment at first, but that uniqueness became the power. If I had been able to go get something else, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Now, let's make sure everybody understands this process. At this point, you don't know you're going to be a YouTube superstar, but you get the camera rolling. Am I right? You get the camera rolling and you start in on this Escalade. Is that right?
I had a supercharger on it first. It was kind of a basic setup, and
The camera's rolling though, yes or no?
this is before
No.
I started doing the YouTube stuff because I thought that I was gonna have a shop where I built turbo kits for people. I like doing the fabrication stuff. I learned that through doing my Escalade, and it was really nice. It came out really good. Other people wanted that because I did it real unique. You saw it. Everything's
Oh
hidden.
yeah.
It's real pretty. I put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
I could do this for other people. Well, I tried a little bit of that, and I realized very quickly that I did not want to do this for other people because other people do not allow you the creative freedom that you have on your own car. If I wanted to spend all day messing with one primary on the header to make it symmetrical to the other one, I can do that. But somebody else is like, why aren't you done yet? It looks the same as it did yesterday. All this stuff. I'm like, I'm not.
We call that customer service.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. That was not about that. Fun away from it. And I thought the only way I'm going to be able to work on my own cars and sustain it itself is through doing YouTube. So that's what I started doing. And that started coming up I made some really crappy videos on my phone in the later half of 2019 after I left Pennsylvania to go to Oklahoma. So I didn't bounce right to North Carolina. I went from Pittsburgh to Oklahoma City for a year and then to Dallas for a year. And then we moved here.
Wow. Okay. So I heard you. I didn't know that part. So for all you kids out there, this is what this conversation is about. You want to be a YouTube superstar. It's not an easy road, is it, Mitchell? How difficult has this been on you to make a living?
Well, my process was a little bit different. I had enough recognition and I guess, I don't know, reputation with the Escalade before YouTube ever happened that once I started YouTube, I posted stuff almost every day for 6-7 months that nobody was watching. It wasn't getting. I had 30,000 followers on Instagram from the Escalade stuff, but it would not transfer to YouTube. I thought it would. It didn't. It wasn't until I started doing other events and doing things with the Escalade that kind of connected the two worlds through a video company called 1320 Video that does all these things. They kind of are how my Instagram grew, and they started doing YouTube stuff with that. And then I think it kind of put me into the tide where people were already aware of me and my Escalade.
That's key.
Yeah.
You got with somebody that was big time.
Yeah, that helped a lot. And it kind of went from, I think it had like 5,000 subscribers to 20,000.
Wow.
In a month. But that was from 2 different video collaborations I did. One was with a guy whose channel is called That Dude in Blue.
Yeah.
And another one was with PFI Speed and Boosted Boys. They were in Colorado. And they both posted their feature videos with me on like back-to-back days, coincidentally. So that took it from stagnant to real quick.
Let's if you don't mind, we're gonna make my Charlie Marlowe, my YouTube manager, we're gonna make him drop in something right now. Charlie, let's grab Mitchell's up. Let's look at that Escalade, and we're gonna drop that in here a little bit about how many views on that Escalade. Last time you looked, Mitchell, where were we with that legendary? What are you up to now on that original post that put you on the map?
I don't even know. It was a couple different. It wasn't like one big thing that did it. It was a kind of a combination of like 3 or 4.
We'll make Charlie drop some of those pictures in here right now, and he'll do a good job at that. So, all right, we've established you started in Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, Dallas. Now you're in North Carolina. I met you through Mark Martin. Mark was out of Batesville, Arkansas, the great NASCAR driver. Mark Martin texted me, and he says, Kenny, you got to do me a favor. This Mitchell Stapleton is a badass. I love him. He came down here. We toured my upbringing of Batesville, Arkansas. And now you can see right now, Mark Martin's son, Matt, has the Mark Martin archive. So I see what you did for Mark kind of bleeding over to the Mark Martin archive. So I listened to Mark. I call you up. And you wanted to do something on not just me, but Rusty and Mike, and we do it. Okay, now, I know that everybody you show up to, and I saw this with the Wood brothers, I know you got the camera right there, but this is what's a shocking blow to everybody. You walk in, and everybody says, that's all you got? That's all you, there's no camera crew? Can you show us what you do everything with?
Yep. It's just a GoPro. It's not even a new one. It's a GoPro 8, which is what I've been using since the beginning. My mom got me one for Christmas, and this isn't the original one. I still have that one. It still works. I just replaced it after a while because I was like, this is the original one. I don't want to destroy it. So now I have a few GoPro 8s.
Mitchell, that's
11 now. I don't use them.
That's pretty incredible to think technology. I mean, you just showed us. And when you walked in my door, you were just going like this. And I'm thinking, he ain't going to get none of this. He's everywhere with that thing. But when it shows up, it's absolutely unbelievable. Where they're learning curves, and I know this sounds silly, but okay, listen, there's a word called ergonomics. Ergonomics means you're comfortable in your seat. You're comfortable with the way you sleep. So did you have to learn some ergonomics with that camera? Do you have some idiosyncrasies that you use?
Yeah, there's kind of a way, whenever you do it enough, you start to figure out. I used to have to touch the screen to get it to turn back on so I could look and see what was in frame. Now I don't. I can hold it and I can see through it.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense. I know what it can see based on how I'm holding it and where I'm turning it, but that was kind of a acquired skill and I'm thinking about all that stuff when I'm filming. I have to talk, I have to ask questions, I have to listen, and I also have to think about the composition of the frame in the camera. I don't want the top of your head to be cut off. I don't want you to be all the way on one side and have nothing on the other. I'm conscious of what's in frame all the time. And sometimes when we use microphones, I have to look at the audio thing too, to make sure the microphone's still working. And after a day of filming stuff, I'm fried. My brain has been running on all cylinders, paying attention to 4 things at the same time. I'm cooked.
Yeah. Well, you have become ever popular in what's that? What was that you just showed me?
Your
Shelby, dog?
Yeah, she came up and dropped the ball at my feet. She started making noise, so she'd start woofing at me if I didn't throw it, so I had to throw it.
You're really good at production, so if you throw the ball, she won't bark and mess up our interview. But hey, listen, I did Brian Deegan, the great X Games motorcycle rider, and his camera was going everywhere. Dog was barking. I said, no, it sounds great. All right, so you've become ever popular in the NASCAR world. Your videos have not just inspired a generation, but they have really saved a lot of NASCAR archives. Now, we won't get into detail, but I know people have been calling you because you're so good. You did something with my brother Rusty for the old Blue Mac shop. My question to you is, throughout your time documenting NASCAR history, what is the one video that made you go, wow, this is pretty special, this is pretty big? It could be 2 or 3, but what is one?
Oh, man. The one we did with Mark in Batesville was one where that was not planned. We only went there to do his museum. And then we got talking about, I was like, where was your dad's old trucking company at? And he's like, well, it's just down the street. I can show it to you if you want. So that whole hometown history tour format package was inadvertently invented by Mark when
Mm.
he decided to take us, drive us around town. And then it became really profound. I could see it in him that he had noticed these things that he hadn't looked at in a long time and was reflecting on it, and he was open about it. And I'm sitting there, we hadn't done a bunch of these yet. I'm not familiar with all these guys at this time. We were just people who, messed with our own cars and did videos about it. We didn't do NASCAR history for the first 100,000 subscribers. And I'm sitting in Mark Martin's Yukon Denali, and he's talking about all these really heavy topics and his dad and being a man and owning up to what you say and
You
all
were
this.
therapy for him. You were therapy for Mark.
It seemed like it. He said how much that meant to him, and I'm just like, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, I'm just some guy holding a camera. Like, what did I get myself into? Like, this is really heavy. This is special. It's important. And I thought we could do this with anybody who has a story.
So you're telling me, was I the second?
Yeah,
I mean,
you were the second one.
oh my gosh.
You were a big part of that. It was like Mark led to you, and then everybody. So if I'm like, hey, we want to do a video with this guy, do you think they'd be interested? And then you would just help facilitate that, like Rusty. You facilitated the one with Rusty. And then once we had a few of these built up, it enabled me to contact people on my own. They look at the page and they're like, oh, this guy's not full of crap.
Yeah.
And that really, like, you and Mark Martin are like the godfathers of this whole history thing. You enabled that to be what it is.
I will please. I want to apologize for stealing just a little bit of your limelight. You really helped me, and I'm going to tell you how you helped me. People have a vision of how people make it in life. How did those Wallaces get to where they're at? And I've had a lot of people come up to me after watching that very long and lengthy documentary. And even my brother Rusty, who's extremely serious all the time, he said, Herman, I watched that. It was long, but damn it, you were right on. So I want to thank you, because that really helped people calm down. People have a vision that Mark Martin was born into money and Kenny and Rusty were born into money. And when you document our humble beginnings, that saves us from the vultures attacking us. I want to thank you for that. Do you find that in any of your interviews or any of your documentary that the people really appreciate it because it explains to people their history?
Yeah. And that's part of what makes it so fulfilling. Is like, I grew up watching you guys and seeing that stuff. Every time I go to a gas station counter and I see Stacker 2, I think of the Bush car you used to drive. Like, that's wired in my brain permanently. And to now be in a place where I can do something to provide value back is really cool. Like the one we did with Kerry Earnhardt and his hometown and upbringing and his whole story. He's told that story before, like on Junior's podcast and maybe a couple other places, but you never get to see where those stories happen.
Yeah, the picture.
Yeah, when you're standing in the spot, when we're standing in front of that shop where you were talking about Poor Boy Chassis and Valley Park and getting burgers across the street, and I'm like, this is it. This is where this happened. It doesn't.
Yes.
You can't get any more close to the story than standing where it happened and listening to it.
You have done an incredible job. Let's start winding this up. I believe that YouTube is the new TV. I feel like what you're doing, even though you don't realize it, have you thought about it, that what you are doing right now with this incredible new digital era, you're creating TV documentaries. Do you realize that?
Yeah, I think not at first. That was never the intention to become history guy. I was always interested in it. Mostly just became that way because I was distracted by it. And I thought I could either be distracted by this or I can use this interest productively.
Yeah.
So it just went that way. But yeah, it became a thing where I was like, this historical archive is going to be of more and more value as time goes on, and not necessarily for you because you'll live to be 130 years old, you'll still be racing, but the older guys like Waddell Wilson and Ed Pink, they're Harry Gant, they're in their 80s and sometimes 90s. 10 years from now, they might not be here, and if they are here, they're not going to be able to tell the stories in the way that they could right now. So I kind of think like this is the closest thing I have to a time machine is
Wow.
pretend I could go back in time 20 years from now. What would I want to do right now that is going to matter a lot then? And that's kind of how I make those decisions, because I do want these videos to be of value to, fans of motorsports and racing then. And I even think about it from the perspective of these videos will be of value to the families of the people we're
Mhm.
doing them with.
Right.
Their kids, their grandkids, their great grandkids. 300 years from now, somebody's going to be able to watch that. And
Yeah.
we're going to do one like we did with you. We're going to do it with Brad Keselowski, and he had talked about the importance of him to do that for his generations, because he was upset that he doesn't know that much about his ancestors and he can't find it because it wasn't there. He wants to make sure that down his lineage that they will be able to know him. And I take that seriously. That's a big responsibility for and motivator for me to do a good job.
So this is morphed into more than uh, making a living. You feel a responsibility now. You're an archive maker for NASCAR, whether you know it or not. I know people have been getting a hold of you, talking to you. We'll keep that amongst ourselves, but congratulations. I would be remiss if I did not bring up that good looking blonde that's with you all the time. Are you married or is she your girlfriend? Where are we at? Everybody wants to know about her.
We're not married, but we do live together. We do pretty much everything
Well,
together.
I didn't mean to ask that. I apologize, but uh, yeah. So anyway, I wanted to bring her up. I find that people like it when people love each other. It's not so much sexual. It's like, man, people are always looking for love. So you two always being together inspires people. I love my wife with everything I have, it's kind of like the Johnny Carson show. I'm old. I'm 60. Well, you had Johnny Carson, and then you had the sidekick Ed McMahon, and uh, we sure do like seeing you two travel America. Uh, and let's kind of end it like this. Do you have any plans to take that camera and go overseas? Are you going to go up into Canada, any other countries with the Mitchell Stapleton show?
I would love to, and I've thought about that, like how cool it would be to go to Germany and see the go-kart track where Michael Schumacher raced go-karts at. Like I'd be all about that stuff, but going to Europe is expensive and we don't have the resources to do that yet. But eventually I'd love to do that. I'd go to Brazil and see where Ayrton Senna came from. I'd go anywhere.
Well, we really will end it right now by this. What is your advice? What is your advice to people that want to be like you? You're at 300,000 subscribers. We know that there's people out there that have millions, but listen, 300,000 is a big, big deal. What is your advice to people that want to be like you?
My advice would be you can be the most like me by not being like me, but by being like you. Like
Stop
being
it.
being how not you as in Kenny Wallace, but your
Oh,
be yourself.
got it.
Chase your internal desire, whatever sparks your curiosity, lean into it and stay true to what you are interested in. Don't do things because you think it's going to be popular or you think you can make money doing it. You won't be fulfilled. It's not sustainable. You'll get burned out, and people will be able to tell when you're disingenuous. And I think that's why so many people open up to us when we come do these videos, because they start talking and we're listening, we're engaged, we actually care about what's going on. And if someone is there just because they want to get the video and do the story and they don't actually care about what they're talking about, that affects the quality of the interaction. You want good interactions, be authentic, be present, and lean into what you're interested in.
Great advice. And I just heard you. Thank you for giving me that advice. In other words, don't copy nobody, be yourself. Well, all right, everybody. Remember, we are in podcast form. We are in iTunes. We are in Spotify. You can listen to Mitchell on the way to work, and you can turn around and turn him right back on when you head back home that night. Until the next Kenny Conversation, we have some good ones in the pipeline. Mitchell, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here. Glad to be here.
All right, everybody, check out Mitchell Stapleton. I know he's going to get to 1 million subscribers. Until next time, goodbye, everyone.